The true meaning of competition, the Greek term is competere. And what it really means is to strive together. It really means the opportunity for us to bring out the best in each other, to make each other better. And, you know, I've seen that in games where you shake hands with players and somebody say, you made me play better. You brought the best out in me. It's not about sports. Sports is a handy metaphor. Can we do that with each other in our lives? Can we really be there for each other, hold each other, be the compassionate witness, and really elicit the best? We're a creation machine. We're in the bodybuilding business. So you can either continue to build the same old body that you've been building maybe unconsciously or subconsciously over the decades, or you've got a new approach. This is heaven. Hell is thinking heaven is somewhere else.
Yeah.
So when we're there, when we're in this moment, this is as God as it gets.
That's awesome.
This is it. This is.
And I can see it in your smile.
Lights me up.
Welcome to Unlocking the Miracles Within. I'm your host, Jeffrey McDonald, and we're here with episode 8, Sacred Movement, Exercise as a Path to the Divine. And I'm excited to be here with a wonderful individual, Barry Robbins. Consider him to be a friend of mine. I don't get to spend enough time with him, but we've enjoyed a lot of fun moments together, Barry and I, over the years that we've known each other. And when I thought of this show, when this show kind of came through, was inspired by Spirit. The first person I thought of was Barry, and Barry gratefully said yes to joining us. Barry is one of the founding members of the Evo Sports Collective. You can actually find out more about that at evosportscollective.com. It's an amazing organization. As you can probably tell from the title, it's about sport and consciousness, mind, body, spirit, and the merging of all through sports. And it's an amazing organization to check out. And Barry's also the vice president of ITP International. That's Integral Performance. Well, see, I probably got to get it right here, Barry. Integral Transformative Practices, which was co-founded by two amazing individuals, George Leonard and Michael Murphy. I've had the blessing of actually meeting Michael in person, which was wonderful. So, Barry, thank you for being here. You're such a lighted being, and I think we have this amazing time together when we connect, and all these amazing things come out of you and me. And I know when we had our pre-call, you brought me into spirit right away, which was just an amazing feeling, as always. So I'm excited to bring that to the community here today. You want to say hi to those listening?
Well, thank you, Jeffrey. It's my honor to be on this podcast. And hello, everybody. Hope that we can have some interesting conversations today. We can be insightful, maybe stretch you a little bit, and most of all, have some fun.
Awesome. Well, you know, I'm going to start off. We're going to dive into the meat of things. And the way this works is, you know what? God whispers in my ear, and then questions come out, and Barry gets to do most of the talking. So thank you for that. But you and I were talking, we had a pre-call, Barry and I had the fortune of having a pre-call with Barry. And Barry and I were talking about the divine and the body as a temple and bringing the divine into the body. And I know we probably chatted about different things at this, but I really wanted you to share with me, because I like to get a little deeper study. Like, when did this all become a thing for you? Like, when did you really start tapping into this?
Yeah, that's a good question. It allows me to go into the Wayback Machine and growing up. And it's interesting, but I've always had an interest in my body and movement. And even our sports group, it's not just about sports, Jeffrey. It's about movement, exercise, the whole gamut of athleticism. And I want to say that we're all athletes, every one of us, whether we're professional, which is on one end, or just day to day. But every one of us has these God-given gifts that allow us to live in our body and to be natural athletes. So it started way back then, and I actually was close to a ball field that was 5 houses away. So I used to spend a lot of time going down there, and I was so interested in the interactions of these players, and also what happens on a team level. Because for me, that's where the chemistry is, that's where the unity is. We're going to talk about unity consciousness. And then at one point, my interests shifted a little bit towards the spiritual realm of things. And I bought this book called Light on Yoga by Iyengar. It's this fantastic compendium of yoga exercises and also his philosophy, his mentality about that. So that took me into another world of movement and the body. And, I look at the body as a divine vessel. And so, for me, we're just sort of this highly attuned satellite antenna that has the ability, when we're really focused and in tune, to receive messages from God, from the divine, from the universe, whatever it is that we want to call. So from there, it led from that point into organized sports, which I got into in a pretty significant way, and then into integral transformative practice, because I was a yoga practitioner for the longest time. And I read this magazine called Light on Yoga. And one of the articles was about ITP. And I was always looking for something more. That's part of maybe what we could talk about, this evolutionary pantheistic move to realize my own divinity, the more. And so I contacted the person who was doing it. He said, sure, come on down. We're open during the whole summer. And of course, I procrastinated for 4 months. Finally got a little upset with myself, went to the last one. I was home for 5 minutes, in 5 minutes. And sometimes we know more about what we don't want to do than what we do want to do. And when we find what we do want to do, your whole body, my whole body just lights up. It's really an incredible teacher. And so from there, then I've been involved in ITP for 3 decades. And then at one point, we decided to start this sports group called Evolutionary Sports Collective, which is an exploration of the cutting edge of sports, because in our world these days, Jeffrey, have difficult conversations around religion or politics, very difficult. But sports is the unifier, and sports is a very interesting approach. I like to call it a Trojan horse into social change. So anyway, that's just a brief rundown of my chronology. And all this time, it's really about this divine vessel that we've been given, and some forms of rites of purification. How can we really love and cherish this vessel and be of service?
Awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate it. There were a couple of things that came through for me in that moment. But I want to tap on something you and I talked about before is, I shared with you my journey, right, where I felt disconnected from my body. And I'm on a journey now of that connection and healing. I think it's a constant journey, but becoming aware of what that feels like to be with the divine. And you asked me, well, what is it? What does it feel like? And I shared with you, for me, it feels like champagne bubbles, right? Starting at my feet and just flowing through my body. And I know we're going to do that today, which is what I'm excited about. You're going to help the folks here listening bring themselves into that divine connection. But I wanted you to share a little bit, because I've done ITP with you. I've had the blessing of doing ITP with you, and I felt it right away. I felt it just shooting through my body just from a simple movement, right? No thoughts, no talking, just a simple movement. So I wanted you to share a little bit from your body, from your perspective, being a high level athlete as you were. I believe you were one of top pitchers, right? You were a baseball pitcher, if I remember right.
I'm still pitching.
You still pitching, still throwing that curveball, fastball, the heater. But talk a little bit about that first experience when you talked about yoga, which I know can be a very spiritual experience, but when you hit ITP and you said, wow, I'm home, what did that feel like for you?
Yeah. So, we're going to talk about this because, Jeffrey, a lot of the work that we do through ITP, I want to say, is embodied work. And by that, what I mean, the literal definition of embodiment is giving a body to something. And so we're going to talk about creating our own divine body. And then what I'd like to offer is that we all have multiple bodies. So in ITP, the idea is it's the exquisite embrace of the synthesis of body, mind, heart, and soul. We all have a physical, a mental, an emotional, a spiritual nature. And so perhaps the way that we can realize and actualize ourselves and really realize our potential is through the combination of all of these things together. And so for me, when I'm there, and you could call it being in the zone, you can call it a samadhi state, a flow state. We're going to talk about that. There's a certain series of things that happens to me, and my body lights up. So it becomes a little more luminous. It becomes very expansive, certainly here in the chest, the heart area, and down here, whoop, in the hara. This is the center, our core. This is the center of the enteric nervous system. This is a really wise area of our body. And so the more that we can describe what's going on and embody this, the better. And most of us go to thinking about how it feels, but we want you to feel how it feels. And our ability to describe this is really something that allows us to explain it and elicit it. And then I also want to say, we are material beings in a material world, living in a material body. We have this body. And so the concept in ITP, by the way, there's a Greek term called antikaluthia. The definition of that in Greek is the mutual entailment of the virtues. To explain that a little bit further, what that really means is when you develop in one area, it impacts development in another. So for example, aerobic exercise enhances cognitive development. Strength training creates emotional well-being. So one area develops and enhances the other. And so what I want to offer is that we have cross-training. And this is part of this program that we have, integral fitness. Not only what does it feel like to be physically fit, but how does it feel to be emotionally fit? So we're going to map that into being a divine body. And how does that feel?
Awesome. I had one more little bit that came through, which to me, it's so profound because you're talking about it, but I don't necessarily think we consciously see it that way. You talked about the divisiveness in the world, right? Whether it's politics or religion. One of my main mission here is to bridge that gap for folks. And what it hit me was that we talk about unity consciousness and we throw that around, but what really hit me is this mind body spirit connection, this mind body soul connection, and that to bridge that unity in the world, we need to really bridge that unity in ourselves.
That's right.
Yeah. And
that's really the model. That's so well said. That's really the model, that there's a relationship between personal and social change. You can't have one without the other, and one impacts the other and vice versa. So this whole idea of unity consciousness is something that's worth exploring. I think we're on the opposite end of that these days. In sports, very simply, the most successful teams are not the ones with the most successful or the highly developed players. It's the best team, the one that has the most chemistry, that can pull together and go to some place higher than themselves. So maybe I could read this quote to you, because unity consciousness is a timeless understanding. It's a wisdom tradition that applies in both the East and the West. Okay, non-dual or unity consciousness is the recognition that underlying the multiplicity and diversity of experience, there is a single, infinite, and indivisible reality whose nature is pure consciousness, from which all objects and selves derive their apparently independent existence. The recognition of this reality is not only the source of lasting happiness within all people, it is the foundation of peace between individuals, communities, and nations, and it must be the basis for any sustainable relationship with the environment. So we can take this beautiful quote and map it into anything, to everything, to ourselves, to each other, to the planet itself. The understanding that we are all one and that our actions impact each other. So just to take this back to the divine, my friend, our approach is very simple. This is another couple of quotes I think you might appreciate. That being in the moment is very important. So here, right now, in the moment, this is heaven.
Mm.
Hell is thinking heaven is somewhere else.
Yeah.
So when we're there, when we're in this moment, this is as God as it gets.
That's awesome.
This is it. This is
And I
what
can see it in your smile.
lights me up. Lights me up.
There's one more little bit in here which is interesting, and I don't I know we're going to actually weave this into an exercise, so maybe this has relevance, but the word that came through was safety. And it just harkened me back to, I grew up in a generation, so for those of you that know my age or don't know my age, I was a 70s child. I was born in 68, but really grew up in the 70s. Probably the worst generation for food and microwaves. It was everything came out there, right? Uh, Heck, we had popcorn popped in aluminum foil. We had TV dinners, all that crazy stuff. But there is a truth to that. The way I grew up and with the food that I was getting, with how I was connected through media or whatever, because that's when really, a lot more TV started. I didn't feel safe in my body. And today I'm even beginning to heal that. But the only reason I reflect on that is because that's very much how society feels, not just towards politics and religion, but you see it today towards food. You see it today towards our healthcare industry. So to me, given, I'm in that prime age where, we are part of a lot of things in our age group. We're running a lot of things in our age group. And the fact that there's probably an entire generation of people that don't feel safe. It's not unreasonable to see there's all these contrast, if you will, towards all these things in society. And as you said, we begin to heal that by healing that within us. And that ultimately we make better choices, decisions, how we move forward, but not in a way that's out of balance. So anyway, I wanted to throw that in because that word kept on coming through. Safety.
Well said. Let's talk about that, because safety is a legitimate concern. And I think we have to be discerning about this. My mantra on this is to know and respect the edge. So when is it that we're rubbing up against our edge? And this whole approach, by the way, is an experiential approach. You can think safety, but when you feel safety, it's more real. Yeah. And so the question is, can we be discerning? Can we make a decision between what's just crazy, neurotic fear and concern for safety just in and of itself, or is there a legitimate reason? And I want to say, Jeffrey, that our body is the place, it's home, it's the royal road towards experiencing these emotions, these sensations, whatever comes in. And I'm going to drop down here if you wouldn't mind. So yeah. We've all got this.
And remember, we got audio for some folks, so make sure you, because we talked about the hara.
Hara.
So maybe describe where that's at for folks that are listening, not just seeing you.
So folks, the thing is, we've got choices and options. This is the nature nurture thing. Are we stuck with our genetic predeterminism? We are who we are, we can't change. Or can some forms of nurturing help us make healthy changes? So the question is, we live in different attentional states, and you've got a choice. Do you live in your head, upstairs in the brain? This is what we call the monkey mind. You think all these thoughts over and over again. Are we really our mind? Are we really our thoughts? Are we more than that? Or another intentional state is down here. This is called the hara in Japan. It's the center of our body. It's the center in the Eastern traditions of the universe.
Your doggy's coming in to check too.
And my dog is definitely interested in my center. He knows all about this. He's a very centered being. So it's also the center. It's where our enteric nervous system is. Okay, this is an area where we have billions of neurons and neural networks. It's called the belly brain. So you can think things, or you can feel things. Mm-hmm. And you can't think a feeling. So what happens is, by the way, that this area is the first responder for any information that comes in. When this information comes in, it actually goes into here first. It goes up our vagus nerve, which is the longest running nerve. It's called the information superhighway. It goes up to our brain. So our brain's getting information a split moment after our body does. So what I like to say is the brain it's really an afterthought. So what we experience comes in first down here. This is science, by the way, not just my supposition. And so, Jeffrey, a lot of us go on what we have called a gut feeling. I got a gut feeling about this. It doesn't feel right.
Right.
And I have learned over time that this is about 99% accurate. And when I don't listen to it, that's when I go, oh boy, I really should have listened to my gut on this. Because our brain can talk us in and out of something in a moment's notice.
Yeah.
And that's not true freedom. True freedom is to be able to stay on your path despite the distractions. So at any rate, that's a bit of a long-winded response.
So walk people through
safety.
Yeah, walk people through for the ones listening, where you were holding. So to describe for folks, Barry was holding below his belly button in the hara point.
So about 2 inches below your navel.
He was showing the vagus line going up the chest, but walk through that, Barry, for us.
Yeah. So the hara, your center, your core, here in the West, it's core, is about 2 inches below your belly button. And it's the center. It's the area between the front and the back. This is your core. And in fact, most sports, your actual strength, when I was pitching, I used to think it was my arm. It comes from your core. And in tennis, in golf, the power comes from your core. So we have the opportunity, we have the choice to live in these attentional states, Jeffrey. And the interesting thing is that we fluctuate between them. So a lot of times our body, the way our body works is when we get activated and somebody says something we didn't like, this hormonal cocktail, which is down here, we have this remarkable hormonal cocktail, adrenaline, opioid, a whole range, serotonin, dopamine. So it's a cocktail, it's hormones, it's a chemical reaction. And typically when we get activated and react, we get flooded. So it starts to go up to here, it goes up to here, all the way up to your head. You can't think straight. Sometimes I'll say the worst possible things because I'm so flooded. And so our concerns about safety and fear, all those things impact the way that we are, but there's a way to notice, I'm flooded, and actually through the breath or a lot of other practices, breathe it down and get more centered. So you actually can ground these emotions and sensations right here in your hara, in your core center. And what I want to say is when we become conscious that we're unconscious, that's consciousness. To be aware that we're not aware is awareness. If we can notice, if we can detach, if we can disidentify from ourselves to our higher selves and go, Barry, you're sort of mad. You got upset there. It's really fascinating because what it allows us to do is to hold ourselves, to be the witness of what's going on. So that's what I mean by being conscious of being, I'm conscious. Once we notice that we're reactive, then we can use a panoply of transformative practices like mantras, like focuses, to bring ourselves back to consciousness. So it's not about being distracted. It's about noticing that you're distracted and coming back. And, how many times throughout the day do we get distracted? And people they talk to me, I don't know what to do with being distracted. Well, guess what? If you weren't distracted, you wouldn't be human. And so just notice, I'm distracted, come back. And that's true with safety. And it's true with our lives. Our body, again, is the first responder. It will tell us everything. We need to have a context to be able to hold this in a certain way, be able to interpret what's really going on here.
Yeah, I want to use a great example to affirm what you're saying. I call that process you just mentioned, you described, being aware. I call that catching. So I use a baseball term for it.
Nice.
Catching that moment, right? And so what I do is I catch the moment. I express gratitude for catching the moment. So that kind of reverses that frustration that you have, like, oh, why am I distracted again? So I just say, in my case, I say, thank you, God. Thank you for showing me that I'm distracted. One other little subtle thing, and other people out there might have that I'll share with you, which totally goes in this hara bit. I don't know how many times we talk about getting a knot in the pit of your stomach, right? And I used to joke about this with the emails I used to get in the corporate world. And the amount of emails would distract me. But two, sometimes there would be an email from that person I didn't want an email from, and I would feel it in the pit of my stomach.
Yeah.
So, and I would feel this knot. And so when I become aware of that, and then I become grateful for that, and then I would say, in my case, I'd say, Lord, what do you want me to do with this particular thing? Because clearly this feeling of not being safe, or, how am I going to, sometimes it's about being direct and honest with someone. It's about opening your heart to someone. Sometimes it's about drawing boundaries. There's all kinds of things that could come out of that, but it only resolved itself, or only went through my body and released if I treated it like this beautiful young child that was learning how to
Mm,
deal with their emotions.
that is a shining example of how to work with this in a different context. And I think what you're demonstrating here is that the more familiar we become with the way that we react, we can then develop an ability to skillfully respond. There's a big difference between responding and reacting, but to just become familiar where things show up in our body. And by the way, there's no dogma on this. It's not like, yes, this should show up at a certain, it's wherever it shows up for each one of us. For some people, it's in the heart, or it's in the head, or it's their eyelid. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is becoming familiar with yourself and recognizing, as George Leonard is a wonderful mentor and teacher and friend, that our body is our teacher. It'll tell us everything. We just have to listen.
Yeah, don't you? I just used to hit me all these things about our body. You're a pain in the neck. You broke my heart.
Yeah,
I got
beautiful.
a knot in my stomach. It's everything we do. Everybody has these things in their own way. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
So what I'm excited about, I don't want to cheat and get there too early. So if you have something else you can share, but I want to have these folks, my listeners now going to be your friends, your soul friends. Um, let's have an experience, right? Let's connect, and then maybe
I'm
we can
thrilled.
talk about a little bit about how. Well, we'll get there, but maybe how that we can get into that state, and how we can actually use it. Me, I like practical tips. So before we get out of this journey together today, you're going to give us some good takeaways, Barry, on how to actually easily integrate this into our daily lives. But
Thank you. And for me, there is nothing like the direct experience. So there's, different components of all this work. There's theory and philosophy and worldviews, which are very important because they can stretch us. Then there is actual practice, experiential practice. There's nothing like it. It's the Gnostic experience of what's going on right now in the moment. And that's very important. And nothing that can replicate that. And even on a Zoom call, so many of us have switched to Zoom calls. We used to meet in person, but even in a Zoom call, we can replicate all of that as well. All right. So what we're going to talk about is having an experience and using that experience to consciously create something. And Jeffrey, in my view, this word creation for me, that's sort of sexy, the ability to create together and to give birth to something. So, it's not sex in the typical Western fashion, but it's really about creation. So I want everybody to have an opportunity to create something. And in this case, what Jeffrey's asked me to do is to talk about creating a divine body. Be something interesting. Now, George Leonard has said, and I agree, that whatever it is that we wish for already exists in the known universe. So really, it's only our ability to connect with it, to tap into this larger field that we call God, the divine, Buddha. It doesn't matter. It's there. And so that's why we use the term embodiment, because we'd like you to give a body to this divinity that's already there within you. So a couple things to talk about, because this whole idea of nature versus nurture. So, there's a debate about it. In our view, this is non-dual unity consciousness. It's both. In terms of nature, yes, we are who the two people who conceived us and pass their genetic code to are. We received their genetic code and structure. However, and this is what's really interesting, the genes themselves are not really what's driving our genetic code. They really create new neurons and new neural networks. This is very fascinating works. And so the idea of nurture, what is it that can nurture our body to create change? That's what's really interesting. And there is this new science called neuroplasticity. It's quite fascinating. It's the brain's ability to rewire and regenerate itself, to grow. Wow, you mean we can grow, we can change? You mean I'm not stuck with the genes and who I am? Oh my God, this is the end of genetic determinism. But the interesting thing is, it's not the genes that make these changes. The change occurs outside the genes. That's called epigenetics. And it's stimulated by a whole range of things, including your family of origin. That makes a huge impact on who you are. Your friends, your food, your social media, the environment. A toxic environment or a healthy environment can make a big difference. And communities, by the way, that we live in, that also makes a difference. So what happens is that these stimuli come in and they trigger our genes to actually elicit new neurons and new neural networks. They actually create new neurons and new neural networks. And those neural networks actually join together to create new memory loops, new intelligence. And I've actually seen this on electron microscope. It is quite fascinating.
We're going to take a little break in the flow of the show here. Barry was so gracious and reached out to me after the show and wanted to offer some additional insight into his view of two different concepts, one on neurotheology and the other on neuroplasticity. So we're going to include that in the show here. It's only about 2 minutes, so I hope you enjoy the additional information, and then we'll get back to the show shortly. Thank you.
Jeff, and speaking of this new world of science validating our understanding of spirituality and consciousness, I'd like to give you a new term and a working definition which may be useful in developing our divine body. The term is neurotheology. It is the emergent science of understanding that our religious or spiritual beliefs create neuroplastic changes in the brain, which in turn create changes in our theological worldview. The prevailing science of the day has focused its studies primarily on the brain, hence the development of neuroplasticity or cranial rewiring. However, consider that the entire body is plastic and mutable. If not, we would never grow from an embryo into who we are today. We wouldn't heal from a wound or develop intelligence or rational wisdom. Our body responds and adapts significantly to these epigenetic influences. And since our body replaces most of our 30 trillion cells over an average of 7 to 10 years, imagine new cell creation through conscious outside the gene influences. About 330 billion of these cells are replaced every day. So we now have a choice in how they are replaced, what is being created, and this is happening right now in the moment. I'm calling this somatic plasticity, the body's ability to adapt, grow, and evolve based on epigenetic stimuli. And somatic plasticity is what we're going to talk about as we explore this new world of change at a very cellular level.
Well, I hope you found that additional bit of information and perspective helpful, and now we're returning to the show.
So I want to give you a little metaphor before we get started. How many of you have seen these 3D printers that are out there? They're pretty fascinating, right? So you've got this machine with a liquid plasma in it, and then there's a wire connected to it, just like it connects to your computer, and it's sending the 3D printer's information. And the printer is printing out 3D materials. I've seen them print out boxes and plates. They're now working on new hands and new organs. seen them print out entire buildings. So what I want to suggest is that the genes are your printer heads. And the code that's coming in are these epigenetic influences that are coming in. So folks, we literally print ourselves. This is a big one. We are printing ourselves. We're a creation machine. It's pretty fascinating. Now, two of the most powerful epigenetic influences are really strong memories and powerful emotions. They're two of the major drivers. So, you know, while we're talking right now, Jeffrey, we're creating billions of new neurons and new neural networks. It's sort of interesting. And so I want to talk a little bit about emotions, and then we're going to step into this. So I have a practice called heartfulness. It's the exploration, the understanding, and the practice of our emotional nature, because working with our emotions is a new world. It's a new world for athletes. It's a new world for most of us. How many of us were raised by our family and were taught to get in touch and skillfully share our emotions? Mm-hmm. Very few.
Yeah.
I didn't take emotions 101 in college. That didn't happen. So it's a new world for a lot of us. And the idea is to train into these emotions, which is very important. And so using the emotions and memories, we can create an experience where you can actually develop a divine body. So if you would right now, what I'd like you to do, and by the way, before we even talk about that, this monkey mind, here's the statistic. We think 90,000 thoughts a day, which is, I need to take a nap just thinking about 90,000 thoughts. So we've got this monkey mind. Now, here's the question for everybody, and that is, how many thoughts are associated with each one of these 90, or emotions are associated with each one of these 90,000 thoughts? It's wearing emotions over and over again. So not only do we have a monkey mind, we have a monkey heart. We experience these emotions over and over and over and over again. So are we stuck on the wheel? Are we more than just this? So the opportunity here is to give you your very own divine body. And what I'd like you to do, if you would, and Jeffrey, you and I worked on this together, is to right now just close your eyes. If you'd like, close your eyes. And we're going to practice interiority, which means going inside and just living on the inside of who you are, in body, mind, heart, and soul, in your spirit, and your soul, and your heart, in your hara, in your core, your center. Just go inside and live there. You can think about this, or you can feel it. And I'd like you to just notice where you are right now, and breathe and relax. And consider this divine body. And if you had a divine body, how would that make you feel? So just drop in, don't think about it, feel into it. Where does your divine body show up? And if you'd like, you can use your hands and point to it. Every one of us lives in a different place. So where's that divine body? Where's the location of this body? You're giving it a body, your own customized body. So where does it show up? Feel into it. And what are the emotions of this body? When you live there, how do you feel? What are your emotions? How does it make you feel? And then this part of your body, what are the physical sensations of these feelings? Is it a tingling, a warmth, expansion? Whatever it is, you get to be your own historian and map into this. So just consider this divine body and this emotion. And I'd like you to just stay there with your eyes closed. And we're going to take a little journey. All right, so this is a practice. Again, with your eyes closed. When you hear the sound of the bowl, take a deep incoming breath, fill up the belly, fill up the lungs, and just hold it and retain it. Here we go. And when you no longer hear the breath, the bowl, slowly exhale. We're going to repeat that. Just inhale Just let the universe come right into your body and retain it. Just keep it there. It's energy, feeling it fill you, and then slowly release the breath. Breathing, rise and fall of the breath, the expansion and contraction of the universe. You're part of it all. Now I'd like you to continue breathing, and I'd like you to create the sound of your bowl, of the bowl, in your own mind. So just take a breath in and hold it. Listen to your own sound of the bowl. And when your own sound is no longer there, just release the breath. And just repeat. Breathe to your own sound. Relax, release. Go deeper and deeper. And just let yourself go into your body and listen. And as you're breathing, going inside, I'd like you to take a journey and consider a place and time a week ago, 20 years ago, where you felt divine. Did you have an experience where you felt divine? And how did it feel? I'd like you to notice that experience and the feelings, the emotions that came out of it. And if you didn't have the experience, create one in your own consciousness. So just breathing, dropping in. Who were you with? Where were you? How long ago? Was something said or not? Doesn't matter. Just go to that experience. Go to that memory. And go to the emotions that are arising for you. And just breathe it in, live in it. Let it become that divinity, who you really are. And then if you'd like, just slowly breathing, come back. If you'd like, slowly open your eyes. Come back. And if you have anything to write with, you can be a recorder, make your own notes of what happened for you. And maybe Jeffrey, if you'd be willing. Welcome back,
Yeah.
brother. Where'd you go?
Come back. It was really interesting. And because you were talking about the core earlier, that was what drew me in. But it was interesting because of the energy, and I've mentioned to Barry before, the energy I always go to is my experience with Jesus, because there was nothing more perfect than that. And so for me, it was bringing that. I want to do it longer because it was bringing that energy in actually to heal that space in me, which is actually in my core, which was really interesting. And I could feel it flowing through. So I found that very uniquely special. Like, oh, wow. Just even allowing yourself to go, okay, where is it? And in my case, it was more like, okay, bringing that energy into the space where you need it.
Yeah.
And letting it flow through. But yeah, I just wanted to do it longer. So,
Well, you can.
And I know we have a little bit of time here.
But you can anytime you want.
Yeah.
So it was in your core. Can you share the emotions?
Yeah, it was what I shared, which is around safety. It
Yeah.
just was not feeling open and safe. And so, yeah, I mean, I can still feel it now, which just great technique, like to bring in that energy, and as you said, like for those that don't know what that is, make it up, basically create what you
Yeah.
believe is that divine experience.
Yeah.
But I always grace that I had that gift, that imprint was there, because I know how people can get stuck in their mind about, well, I don't know what I should experience, and da 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 da. So that's why I wanted more time. So folks out there, you might need a little more time to get out of your monkey mind and your monkey heart, um, and really tap into that. That would kind of my suggestion is like, wow, I could see the limitless potential of that experience. So I'll definitely be doing that after the call, after our
Good.
podcast today. But
Good.
yeah, that
So,
was
for those of you who have engaged in any form of contemplative practice as well, there's so many. Meditation, gardening, running, there's so many. Reverie, daydreaming. That there's a familiar term there, which is a mantra, which is basically a focus that you have, so that when you get distracted and you notice, aha, I'm distracted, you can come back. So I want to say that this is a little gift for everybody to make it a mantra. So if you get scared and you don't feel safe, then you've got a place to go. You have a mantra, you have a focus to come home. It's your divine body, and to live in it. And the more that you do that, the more you grow this body. We're a creation machine. We're in the bodybuilding business. So you can either continue to build the same old body that you've been building, maybe unconsciously or subconsciously over the decades, or you've got a new approach. And the other opportunity, Jeffrey, as you're doing this, is also, what are the physical sensations? How does this body feel? It's like trying on clothing. How does this feel? So,
Ooh, I got one more. Yeah, I got one more for you that just hit
bring
me.
it on.
I know we don't have a lot of time left, and we need some time for Barry to wrap up, because I already warned Barry. I said he's gonna have to give me at least 3 practical tips to walk away with. But you were so into yoga and you're so into ITP, and I love the body movement, but I just had this thought. Like, how do you take, because there's a lot of people out there that do yoga. There's a lot of people out there that do walking, that just whatever movement they're doing ITP. How do you bring that concept in, instead of going, hey, I'm man, my downward dog's a little stiff today. Ouch, ouch, ouch. How, when you face that stuckness, if you will, because that's what yoga is great about, right? As an example, like you feel stuck and you can feel it in your body. How do you bring that consciousness into that practice as a practical example?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for my answer would be, number one is to notice you're stuck. Aha. And guess what? Is this safe or not? Am I reaching my edge? Am I going to do something that may impact me? And so this is where this magic word the P word, comes in: practice. Practice. It's that actually discipline is freedom. In this case, discipline's a big. Oh, I don't want to. I don't want to do. I don't want anybody to tell me anything. Not only that, I don't want me to tell me anything. It's this anti-authoritarian thing. The question is, are we going to be subject to the whims of our monkey mind that can talk us in and out of something in a moment's notice? Because that's not true freedom. True freedom is to stay on your path despite the distractions. So when you get to that point and you're doing yoga and there's something there, then your body's telling you. Jeffrey, I talked about this with your incident. Maybe I've gone as far as I should go today. Now with practice, with conscious practice, you can expand your work. You can expand your training, but not in the moment. We have to live and respect the moment. So we can train into this, and that's the beauty of integrating practices that are transformative and bringing this whole panoply of opportunities of practices into our daily life.
So I had this vision of you, like, our desires to push through, right? To push, push, push. But in a sense, the word that I got was, sometimes it's better, I don't want to say fall back, but fall into the moment just be okay with it
Oh,
being where it's at.
Jeffrey, let's talk for a moment. It's because George Leonard has created this great approach. It's called focus surrender. So George used to say intentionality, he had this great Southern accent. Intentionality is the most powerful force in the universe. It's very powerful. We get intentional, we get focused. I'm an A type. I want to make things happen. But then there's surrender. And by the way, not in the sense of giving up, Jeffrey, but in the sense of allowing, of letting go. And that's what we do when we bring God in, the divine. We become a vessel. It comes through us. So focus, surrender. You practice, you focus, and then you've got to let it go and allow it to happen. And the combination of those two, that's where things really get jump started. That's where things take off. Hope that helps.
You know, that was a light opening moment there. So,
Oh, oh,
and folks, some of what I'll share with you, like even doing this podcast, it's just like this. What we're talking about is when I'm at my best, I just surrender to what I'm feeling and what I'm hearing, and I don't really make nothing of it. So my hope is that I bring out the best in the guest. I bring out the best for you, but it's a very similar exercise. So Mr. Practical Jeffrey wants the 3 tips from Mr. Barry here, and your wisdom and your light. So I know I didn't school you on this before to have these prepared and have these be the best 3 tips ever. So I love having it be dynamic. Just for what you're feeling for this audience, what 3 things would you give them as a takeaway to do? To do today, to do when they have their next moment. I know they're going to be listening to this for about an hour, but what can they do walking away from this that might help them become more aware and act on it?
Well, I'll just simply share what I do, and that is I always look through the lens of body, mind, heart, and soul. How am I doing in each of these areas? Is there some proficiency? Is there some issue? What can I develop in my physical nature? Emotionally, same thing, the heart. How am I doing with my emotions? These are filters, they're lenses through which we can look through and see ourselves. And the mind, our consciousness, how's that going? Because it's all part of us. And then our soul, our spirit. I hear this great quote that spirit is soul incarnated into this lifetime. So, what's your spirit? And then ultimately, friends, when we look deeply and drop deeply into our soul, what is our calling? I have these what's it all about Alfie moments from time to time. It's very important. Am I on the right path? Am I diverted? Am I getting off track? What is my path? And by the way, it's perfectly fine to drop off the path and reconnect and identify another path. Life changes. But for me, that's always the inquiry, Jeffrey, is, what is my calling? So that's one of them, is this lens of body, mind, heart, and soul. And the other, again, is what really is our body telling us? And I want to have people understand, when I say body, I mean all these multiple bodies that we live in. And now that you have enhanced your divine body, what does that body have to say? And then lastly, it's about this kind of experience that Jeffrey's providing. This is so unique, that community is so important. We're a community right now. All of us, whoever's on this call, whoever's listening, we're a community. So to recognize the power of community and to understanding the difference that we can make by being with each other and supporting each other, that is unity consciousness. So let's not isolate. Let's actually identify what each and every one of us can do to make a positive change. Can we be really healthy bodhisattvas in this world?
I love that you have a nature about you where, I think one of the most important things, or at least what I'm feeling from folks out there, is we just step into judgment so much. And you have that nature about you where you're looking at things with a observant eye, but maybe not a critical eye.
Yeah.
Like you're not judging that space you're in or the place you're at, or comparing or contrasting. And that's interesting to me from a person that achieved such a high level in an athletic, because you always feel like athletes are always like, I got to beat you, you know, that competitive side.
Well, the
But
true meaning of competition, if we run over, we run over, and whatever you want to do with this. So competition in the West is this zero sum. I beat you, I win, you lose, I get over you. But folks, the true meaning of competition, the Greek term is competere. And what it really means is to strive together.
mm,
It really means the opportunity for us to bring out the best in each other, to make each other better. And, you know, I've seen that in games where you shake hands with players and somebody say, you made me play better. You brought the best out in me. It's not about sports. Sports is a handy metaphor. Can we do that with each other in our lives? Can we really be there for each other, hold each other, be the compassionate witness, and really elicit the best? And, you know,
wow.
that's part of this evolutionary love, agape love. Or what are we here for? Can we really leave an imprint on this earth? Can we really allow people to say, you know, this person was a good influence on me. He brought out the best in me.
Wow.
So this is that kind of opportunity on this call, Jeffrey, for what you're doing, to be able to share information and connect people.
Yeah, I just brought out the big thing in me. My big thing today was I have this, you know, I have this desire, if you will. I love seeing people um, be in joy, be in bliss, express the best version of themselves, overcoming. I'm a huge underdog guy. I was a big Mighty Mouse fan when I was a little kid. You know, I love Mighty Mouse. So you know, we love that hero's journey, the superhero story, but generally that's part of my purpose too. But when you were just talking there, it's like, wow, man, if we could just bring that, I mean, the first one you would say, hey, if we could bring the real true meaning of competition into politics, wouldn't that be awesome, right? I want to bring the best out in you, bring the best ideas and the best solutions and the best path forward, and really challenge each other to champion each other in a way of respect and love.
Yeah. I think it maps into our evolving nature. We are evolving, we are growing. And so I want to, maybe if you wouldn't mind, just sharing with you my vision.
Yeah.
Because right
Love it.
now we are Homo sapiens sapien. But perhaps as we evolve, there's something else. Um, and for me, part of this is to become this deeper, more feeling, more compassionate being. I call it Homo sapiens sentient. And it deals with the enteric nervous system. It deals with wisdom as opposed to intelligence. They're both there, but to be a wiser person, a more knowing, a more feeling person, and also then to embrace some of these remarkable energies that we have of intuition, of synchronicity, of clairvoyance, of telepathy, of precognition. There's a whole range of those things that each one of us experience, that each one of us has. So can we evolve as a species? Because that is where non-dual unity consciousness will, I believe, come further into play.
Awesome.
So here's to our evolving nature.
Hey, amen to that. Amen to that. So, you know, this is the part of the show where I give you a few minutes to share about yourself, maybe your websites, and how people can connect with you. And obviously, if somebody reaches out to me, I'll be more than happy to pass them along your way so you can connect with them. And folks, we'll have the links of Barry's websites and more information on, you know, even his influences. I know he shared a book on here. I'll make sure I get that into the notes to mention. But yeah, Barry, it's your stage here to kind of wrap things up for us.
Thank you, brother. Well, Jeffrey's going to send you out the information, but I'm involved in two organizations. The first one is ITP, Integral Transformative Practice. We have a nonprofit, and Jeffrey will send out that information. It's really the first integral practice, substantial, significant integral practice that was brought forth here in the West. It was created by George Leonard and Michael Murphy. They were actually the godfathers, I think, being given credit for being the godfathers of the human potential movement, which was simply stating we're really using a small amount of our potential. So how do we use more of it? And then this practice was created to take the theory and philosophy into experience and practice in community. And that's an ongoing practice with communities all over the country and other parts of the world. And then from there, what we feel is that the true significance of a practice, of a new wisdom tradition, is its ability to infuse itself into culture and society. How does it show up in the arts, in business, in sports, in the world, in our family life? So that's where the Evolutionary Sports Collective came along, because we decided, well, let's take this into sports, movement, athleticism. And so we explore the cutting edge of sport. We have master's calls once a month, a whole range of other things. It's fascinating work. And I think sports is a great metaphor for life. And because of its scale, Jeffrey, there's 5 billion people involved in playing or watching sports and movement, exercise. It's got an incredible reach. It's got an incredible opportunity. And so we have the ability to send out messages other than drink Budweiser beer. So these are the two organizations that I'm involved with. And we hope to be good influences and be a positive effect in creating change in this world.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your light today. And generally, I like to wrap these up with a little prayer. So if you entertain me for a minute, I'll let God come through and Spirit come through and share with us. Heavenly Father, open up our hearts, our minds, our beings, our eyes and our ears, our hara, and all of the core of our being to all that is you. And I pray for everyone today that you find that place of divinity within you, and you're able to tap into that, and you're able to nurture that, to love, adore, and see all aspects of you that maybe are causing you challenges today. And you begin to unlock that and to overcome that. And I pray and hope that the messages we give you today just maybe crack the door open a little bit to something new for you. I always say 1 or 2 things, Lord, give these folks to take away and bring more light into their life. So thank you in your name, and in Jesus' name, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you. So bless you, my friend. I'm sure folks are going to love this one, and I look forward to having you on again at some point. So it's always a blast.
Keep it going. My honor. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Barry.